Every morning the world starts quietly, one soft light at a time. Homes flicker awake, shops open. People take those first small steps into a brand new day. And in all of that ordinary movement, there's something kind of extraordinary. A moment worth noticing, a spark you feel before you even name it. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's small, but kindness shows up right on time. And every morning we choose to show up with you so we can look for that spark together.
Good morning. I'm Matt Roof, the Uncommon Kindness Guy, and this is Kindness Rising. Let's rise together.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Have you ever noticed how we love to call things an overnight success? Like one day someone's unknown and the next day they win, but wins don't happen overnight, they happen behind the moment. And today we're talking about what it takes to win long before anyone is watching. Maybe.
This is Kindness Rising.
All right, all right. Before we go any further this morning, I do want to pause and acknowledge something. Since the last time I went live, we've had a couple of major acts of gun violence that have shaken communities. One at Brown University, the other at the Bondi Beach, different places, different circumstances, and the same heartbreak. And I want to say this clearly. If you're feeling heavy today, if you're feeling angry, numb, scared, or just a little tired, that reaction makes sense to me. This week also marks Hanukkah, a season centered on light, perseverance, and hope in dark times. And I want you to hold space for that, not in a way that ignores reality, but in a way that refuses to surrender to it. Because moments like these force a question on all of us. What do we choose to amplify next? Kindness Rising exists for days like this, not to minimize the pain, not to look away, but to rise above that hate, to resist despair, and to choose compassion. Choose compassion, understanding, and humanity, especially when it's hardest. We can't fix everything in one moment, but in one morning, but we can decide how we show up. We can refuse to let violence have the final word. So today I'm wishing you peace, resolve, courage, and light. And to anyone carrying fear or grief quietly right now, let's keep going together. This is Kindness Rising. I welcome you all in to Kindness Rising, where we get up and we acknowledge things that happen in the world. I'm going to talk about Rob Reiner in a little bit. I know people are waking up this morning to that crazy news about Rob Reiner's death. So we'll be honoring him a little later in the show. But first, we want to celebrate because it's important for us to celebrate the wins. I know we're whipsawing our emotions all over the place today, but here's the truth. We have to continue to go with positivity, and we can celebrate our wins. We can also celebrate the work that we do behind those wins. We celebrate wins loudly all the time. The trophy, the headline, the promotion, the viral posts, all those things. But what we don't celebrate nearly enough is the quiet work that came before it. The early mornings, the repetition, the people who showed up when there was nothing to celebrate yet. Absolutely. Here's the tricky part. When you're in that phase, it doesn't feel like you're winning at all, right? It feels like effort. It feels like patience and wondering if anything is actually working and if anything is going to go right. But if that's where you are right now, this week right here on Kindness Rising is for you, because every moment has a backstory. Get involved in the comments. We're going to be talking about the Be Kind Rewind coming up. We're going to be talking about Rob Reiner and acknowledging those things that have happened over the weekend and in the world a little bit, but we're going to do it with positivity and we are going to do it with hope. and courage, because that's what we do on Kindness Rising. Mike Sullivan, good morning. I welcome you in. Never, ever, ever miss a show. It's amazing to me. Thank you so much, Sully, for showing up. I appreciate you. Anyone else out there, everyone else out there in the chat, should I say hello, say good morning, and get ready to talk a little bit maybe about the 1980 Miracle on Ice. That's what we're going to talk about next. We are on our Be Kind Rewind, and we're talking about the work that goes in before the win, right? How much effort that people don't see. There are so many stories, people seem to suddenly rise to fame or achieve some huge success, shocking world record or moment in the spotlight, whatever it might be. But what we really don't ever see or rarely see is the amount of work that went in. And I think the Miracle on Ice story is the perfect reflection of that. I couldn't think of the word, the perfect reflection of of all that went on before the win. 1980. I was 8 years old. Already a huge hockey fan. I had been exposed to hockey very early on in my life, having learned how to ice skate at 3 years old in the backyard of my babysitter's house, to playing in my first organized hockey league when I was 5 years old. So by the time I was 8, hockey was already an obsession of mine and already on my mind. And it happened. The unbelievable Miracle on Ice win, semifinal win against the Russians for the United States amateurs. Nobody gave them a shot. Nobody gave them a chance. Of course, there was tons going on geopolitically, the pressures of family, all the stuff that was going on between the Carter administration, and we were struggling economically, right? And that bonding moment that we had as a nation around the 1980 win was unbelievable. Was unbelievable. It's embedded in my brain for sure. Definitely a what do they call it? Like a key memory, like a just there. But here's the thing: what we felt at that time, and what I felt, with the pride that I felt, and the continued passion about hockey, was that win. But what we didn't understand is what it meant. That team was not supposed to compete. They were not supposed to even be on the same ice with the Soviet army. They weren't professionals. They were just college kids going up against a huge machine and an entire nation that had been training together for years. And of course, the Cold War was all the background behind that. It was the very air that we were breathing. So this just wasn't a hockey game. It was pride. It was identity. It was national pride. Good morning, Roseanne Roof, mother. I am so glad you're here. I'm sure you remember the 1980 Miracle on Ice game that happened in Lake Placid, not too far from my home. And I have said it before on the show. I'll continue to say it. I've had the honor of playing hockey on that very ice, where the U.S. defeated the Russians and ended up winning the gold medal there in Lake Placid. I was blessed to be able to go and spend some time in that Lake Placid training camp, a training area, doing some summer training for hockey. It was really, really cool. Unbelievable, beyond unbelievable. So thanks, Mom, for making that opportunity happen for me in my life, for sure. Say it publicly right here to you. Absolutely. I'm getting a little emotional. Just give me a sec. So the truth is, what we didn't see, we saw the win, but what we didn't see was Coach Herb Brooks. I'm sure everyone, or many of you out there in the world, have seen the movie Miracle. And I'm sure, because I've heard the actual players talk about this in interviews and things, that it was not an exaggeration. The next, running those suicides, pushing them to learn that the name on the front of the jersey is way more important than the name on the back of the jersey. All those sort of become sports cliches, but Herb Brooks was an amazing man. I actually had a chance to meet Herb Brooks, not in a hockey sense, off ice, but it was pretty amazing and dynamic man. He ran them harder than they thought was possible. Endless drills. I mean, yeah, just unbelievable. And there were moments he knew his team hated it. They knew when they doubted him and they doubted himself. And then that was all going on. That was all going on while we were waiting for our American team to take on the Russians behind with all that uh, uh, backdrop of the Cold War and the economic situation in the United States. All that was going on, and we were worried about how much gas we were pumping in our car and all those things, which were vital and important while they were working on that stuff. And it was, it was amazing. They did all that work. We saw the win, and then it was decades later when we found out just how much those men went through, and had the perspective on what that meant. At least for me, like when I was 8 and I was 10 and I was still celebrating, and Mike Ruzioni and all this excitement. I didn't really understand. The movie opened my eyes to that quite a bit. Um, but yeah, here's the thing though, that miracle, it wasn't luck. It wasn't a miracle. It really wasn't. It was day in, day out miracles, the miracles of those guys showing up at practice, at giving everything that they had, of giving up their egos. That was a huge part of that story, right? It's not about you, not about the name on the jersey, front of the back of the jersey. It's about the name on the front of the jersey and what they were willing to endure even before the puck dropped, let alone before they won the game. So that's the part I didn't understand when I was 8 years old. I understand it now. It gives me great context, and it gives me some hope that as I'm working through things, and I know some days feel like a grind on things, and your head down, and we just go work, 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 and look up. That's Keith Billis's thing. That was a great thing that he has taught me. Work, 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 work. Look up. See how far you come. Am I there yet? Nope. Work, 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 work. Look up. I think it's really, really been a key a tenet of my life now, and an approach to my life that I never really ever had before. So anyway, that was all the work behind the win of the 1980 Olympics. So what are your Olympic memories? The Olympics are coming up again in February. Very excited, although I did see recently uh, um, aerial photographs of the ice hockey arena. They're not even sure if it's going to be ready. I mean, it looks like I can't believe they're going to get the work done to play an Olympic hockey game in what it looks like today. But we will have faith. We hope the Italians over there in Milan and Cortina are um, getting their act together. So but either way, it's going to be an exciting and an awesome time. I love Olympic time, the stories behind the Olympics, behind all the athletes from all the countries, the international stories, the stories of hope, stories of family and perseverance, and all the uh, basically tenets, the things that we talk about here on Kindness Rising. So I'll be excited for that for sure coming up in February. Excuse my snot. All right. I am looking for the right moment. Here it is.
They'll remember the moment. They won't remember the work.
Wins are built before the buzzer.
All right. Wins are built before the buzzer. Wins are built before the puck drops, before the big presentation that you have to give, before the sale, before the board meeting, whatever it is, you're getting up and getting after it before you climb the ladder to build the roof. Whatever it is that you're doing out there, it all happens before the win. And that's the part that nobody sees. all that work before the roar, before the celebration, and the courage to step onto the ice when the score is 0-0. So when that puck drops, you're ready to go. All right, enough hockey references. I love it. 50 years, your love of hockey never wavered. You're right, Mom. You're absolutely right. And I'm going to love tonight when the New York Rangers take on the Anaheim Ducks. I'm a huge Rangers fan. And Chris Kreider is one of the all-time great New York Rangers who was traded in the offseason, is making his return to Madison Square Garden. I'm sure that will be quite an emotional, quite an interesting celebration happening in Madison Square Garden. Pretty cool stuff. Absolutely. Welcome into Kindness Rising. We're talking about the wins, the work before the win today a little bit, and we're going to get to talking about Rob Reiner in just a second. Tough stuff to smile through. When I woke up, I saw that there was some hubbub about it before I went to bed here on the East Coast last night, and I woke up to that news. You recall Miracle trailer with the Aerosmith soundtrack? Dude, it's one of the, Mike Sullivan. It's one of the most watched movies in our house. My daughter can repeat every line from that movie. It's our go-to movie. Even if you're not into hockey, I've had two movies recently. Side note, we're going tangent here to movies. Had two movies recently that even if you weren't into the actual subject matter, the making of the film, the story of the film, the context, the historical context, of course, both were from my own era, but Miracle is obviously, I think perhaps the ultimate historical fiction, sports fiction movie. Maybe not. I mean, Brian Song. There was a bunch of others, but the other movie that I saw was called Air, AIR. Maybe some of you have seen it. It is the story of how Air Jordans were developed, but it was way, way more than that. It was a really cool movie. It was shot really well, did a great job of capturing the aesthetic of the early to mid 1980s. The acting in it was phenomenal. It was a Ben Affleck, Matt Damon production, but there are lots of other amazing performances actually in it beyond those two. And the story is just really well done, really well shot, cinematography. I would recommend it to you, even if you don't give a hoot about who Michael Jordan is or Nike or any of that, because it's just a really good movie. All right. That's my plug for Air. Can you say hi, Evan? Of course I can say hi, Evan. Can you say hi, Kindness Rising? And let's get up and get after it. Brian Corwin, I appreciate you. 6887. Hi, Evan. Whoever you are, wherever you are, tell us where you're coming from and what's up. We welcome you here to Kindness Rising. All right. And yeah, that's where we're at. All right, we're going to move on to our kindness compass today. We always like to give you a little something to walk away with, some ideas, some action to move forward with here on Kindness Rising. And when you're behind the wind, it's easy to think you're lost, but you're not. You're just early. So here's your kindness compass for today. 3 things to orient yourself when the results haven't caught up yet. First, respect the reps. It feels repetitive, boring, or unseen. That's not failure. That's training. Don't rush past the part that's actually building you. Head down, work, 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 look up, work, 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 look up. Measure differently. In this season, effort matters more than outcomes. Showing up counts, consistency counts, even when nothing looks quite impressive yet. And lastly, choose continuation. You don't need certainty to keep going. You just need willingness, and progress favors the people who stay in motion. Results arrive later, but character is built now through your actions every day before the win. All right. I don't know. Okay. Oh, I forgot our spotlight, our kindness spotlight today. Where is our kindness spotlight? I knew there was something. Where is our? I wrote one. Okay, I lost it. Sometimes you lose your kindness spotlight, and that happens. I was talking about a coaching organization that actually supports coaches who are reaching out uh, to children, to new coaches in the world to help them to be more compassionate, to have more empathy, to be uh, here it is. Here it is. Found it. I'm going to read it now because I'm going to make it official for you. It's called the Positive Coaching Alliance. And we talk about winning. We usually point to the scoreboard, but real winning starts long before the game, in practice, in mindset, and in how people are taught to show up. And that's why today's kindness spotlight is on the Positive Coaching Alliance. They work in unglamorous spaces like locker rooms, on the sidelines, early mornings, helping coaches, parents, and athletes understand that performance and character aren't opposites, they're connected. They teach that effort matters, that development takes time, and that pressure doesn't have to break you, it can shape you. Here's what I love about their work. They're actually not chasing highlights. They're actually trying to build human beings who can live beyond their sport. Sport ends, right? Live beyond their sport with characters, because most of life isn't played under the bright lights. It's practiced quietly before the game, and then it's what you do after the game. And the people who thrive are the ones who are coached early on how to lose, how to learn, and how to keep going. That's the kind of work that happens behind the moment. And that's the Positive Coaching Alliance. I'm glad I got to it because I think it's really important work that they are doing, how much we are influenced by our coaches in the world. I talked about a guy that influenced me before. I don't mind retelling the story of a man, again, that I didn't know until so far beyond when he was actually influenced in my life. And it was only with 3 years of my life that he was there. But when I look back and I go, oh, that was a pretty good model right there. Gentleman named Jeff Kleinwax. I don't even know where Jeff is right now. Maybe this would be motivation for me to go find him if he's still around. But when I was in Pee Wee hockey, that's ages 9 to 12, maybe, about approximately. Same timeline, just post 1980, early 1980s. A gentleman named Jeff Kleinwax was my hockey coach for several years. Guy didn't have a kid on the team. Guy wasn't the best hockey player ever, had a history of hockey. But, we're not talking about elite, but what he did was he showed up. This guy was there for 3 years straight. He wasn't court ordered. He wasn't told by his corporation, go out and go do something, volunteer in the community, go do something to give back and help develop people. Jeff was there. He was solid guy when I look back and see what that was. And that influenced my life too. As a direct model. When I shortly after my early 30s, shortly after I graduated with my master's degree, I moved to Geneva, New York, and I was there. I was a young married guy with no kids, and I'm like, what can I do? How could I get involved? Get involved in the community that was from within myself. And I went and I coached Pee Wee hockey for 3 seasons. I mean, it's almost mirror image of what Jeff did in my world. And some of those families and some of those kids, we lived through some pretty heavy stuff, and over those 3 years together. So that was a pretty special time in my life to be able to do that and give back and lead. So I don't know how I got on the Jeff Kleinwax story, but that is my story. All right. It's been a little bit of a weird episode, a little emotional for me today. I got to be honest with you. Yesterday was Hanukkah, and my father, in his honor, we celebrated Hanukkah, and just a lot of stuff going on between the Bondi Beach and the Brown University, and now the loss of Rob Reiner, who we will now have a little tribute for, right? Because some creators entertain us, and others quietly shape how we see the world. And Rob Reiner did both with great range, unbelievable range, absurd brilliance, the Spinal Tap, timeless humor, Princess Bride, honest conversational way with When Harry Met Sally. And he showed us that comedy could be smart, warm, and deeply human. And then he kept surprising us. Actually, he started with Meathead. Meathead and All in the Family. He brought that liberal perspective into living rooms that weren't always ready for it. And as the director of A Few Good Men, he proved he could wrestle with power, with truth and moral courage just as skillfully as he handled laughs. He understood something rare. Humor opens the door, but meaning is what stays with you. At Kindness Rising, we believe stories can challenge us without tearing us apart, and Rob Reiner's work lived in that balance. Funny, thoughtful, and grounded in humanity, grateful for the laughter, grateful for the range, grateful for the stories. God bless you, and R.I.P. Rob Reiner. So that's a little tribute to a man we just lost. And on the way over to Mornings in the Lab with Keith, John, and friends, you can go over there. His stool is moving around like crazy today. You can get on over to Mornings in the Lab with Keith, John, and friends at 8 a.m. over on Mornings in the Lab with Keith, John, and friends channel here on YouTube. And you can talk about another guy. We talked about Rob Reiner. He's talking about another amazing thing that happened over the weekend that certainly was headlight grabbing, and that was the retirement of John Cena. Why never give up is actually a lie. The John Cena lesson. Interesting little twist. Sometimes growth isn't about pushing harder. It's knowing when to pivot, rest, or redefine the win. If today's conversation was about what happens behind the moment, this one asks what happens when perseverance alone isn't enough, and how wisdom shows up when strength gets redefined. So stay with us here when the conversation continues. That's our show for today. If your work doesn't feel like a win yet, that doesn't mean it isn't working. Most victories are invisible until suddenly they aren't. So if you're showing up, staying consistent, and doing the work, even quietly, you're not behind. You're just behind the moment. This is Kindness Rising. Until tomorrow morning, stay uncommon and stay kind. What if your mornings could be inspiring and ridiculously fun?
Kindness Rising isn't just a show, it's a full wake-up vibe.
It's freaking fun, people.
Yeah, man, it's got real get-after-it energy.
I love it.
Wake up with Kindness Rising.
I help purpose-driven people grow their impact. 5-ingredient recipe to help you build your personal brand. Get out there and take kind action.
If it's live, they'll feel it.
On Kindness Rising, we bring you proven strategies and fresh ideas you can actually use. If you're not failing, you're not trying.
Exactly. Fail fast, rebound faster.
You'll see the bloopers and the genuine connections that make kindness contagious. We sometimes get into a little bit of trouble.
Pretty much my life made the list.
You can trust what you see right here is honest, respectful, and uplifting. Social impact organizations, and we always talk about them. Try kindness. It's way cheaper than therapy. You just made my day.